Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Geeks Who Like Sports, episode number 21. First, as always, I'm Ray Carcillo, one of the co-hosts of the show, and joined by my best buddy here to my right, Lee Elias from Philadelphia.
We grew up, we got ridiculed for a lot of things that we love, and to see the gaming community, but just this culture here of all the people here coming together and everyone's accepted, like you said, but also just the power of it.
And I was just so excited because it takes my love of all things geek, video games, comic books, all things pop culture, and my love of sports, because I am an avid sports fan, grew up watching sports, grew up playing sports a little bit, and just seeing the two come together just fills my heart with joy. And seeing this panel tonight, so much love. Absolutely recommend Geeks Who Like Sports podcast. It's funny, very interesting to listen to, and if you love all things geek and all things sports, definitely check it out.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special edition of the Geeks Who Like Sports podcast here at PAX Online 2020. We thank you so much for tuning in. I am Ray Carcillo, one of the co-founders and co-hosts of the Geeks Who Like Sports podcast, which we heard wherever podcasts are heard. You can also find us, of course, at geekswholikesports.com, Geeks Who Like Sports on Facebook, and Geeks Who Like SP1 on Instagram and Twitter. And, of course, I'm joined by my other co-host and co-founder, Lee Elias. Lee, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful, Ray. I'm not going to give my normal weather report because we have so many guests on the show, so it's good to see you as always.
Yes, we have a full show with some amazing folks who are joining us today. First off, we have our good friend, returning PAX champion, by the way, coming back from last year's PAX panel, the one and only Gordon Bellamy. Gordon, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic and just great getting to spend an afternoon with all of you.
Awesome. Gordon, of course, is on the board of directors for the WaveVR, and of course, you can see him right now on the Netflix mini docu-series High Score in episode 4, so definitely check that out. We also have with us an EA Sports game changer. You can catch his Twitch and YouTube channels, the Finn FTW, Finn MacConnell. Finn, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you all doing on this fine day?
Doing fantastic, sir. We really appreciate you coming in, despite having nothing but Philadelphia memorabilia plastering the walls behind you. So
I know. I'm sorry. I'm just so obnoxious.
Hey, Finn, never apologize for that, number one. Ray, you've got New York stuff in the back of your house, so don't talk about it. One of these teams is still in the playoffs.
We're ugly cow.
We're also outnumbered again. We have two Philadelphia fans here today, but we also have a friend from Cleveland. He is the CEO of Shaq News, the one and only Asif Khan. Asif, how you doing today, my friend?
Oh, pretty good. You know, none of my teams are in the playoffs, so I don't have to worry about missing games right now. So I was like, sure, come talk about sports.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna get to talk a lot about Cleveland later in the show as we, of course, get into our sports. And for those of you who don't know, just a brief intro about what Geeks Who Like Sports is about, right? This is something that me and Lee came up with a little over a year ago, where we realized that we were talking about Spider-Man versus Wolverine as much as we were talking about the Eagles versus the Giants, the Flyers versus the Rangers, or the Super Bowl or whatever. And we realized that there had to be other folks like us out there. So that's what this is about. That's what this show is about. This is what this podcast is about. It's about folks who can enjoy video games and comic books and movies just as much as they like seeing their sports teams in the playoffs, or in the case of Asif, going 6-10 every year and missing the playoffs. So, but we appreciate everybody being here. So that's basically the catalyst.
6-10, that's a good record.
Yeah, 6-10 is a good year for the Browns this millennium.
6 wins.
That's always looking on the bright side of your life. I like it. That's it. We'll take it. Get a thumbs up for that one.
If it makes you feel better, I think my Giants are going to fare much better this year, but we'll get into that later. We got a great show for you folks today. We got a lot of geek stuff to talk about. We're going to kick things off with, of course, being PAX. And, of course, we have some folks entrenched in the game industry here, including alongside myself and Lee. So we're going to start with some big games that have come out recently, some big games that have been announced. The Avengers just came out. We got some announcements from DC Fandom, as we like to call it here on the show. Gotham Knights, Suicide Squad. We got Spider-Man, Miles Morales coming out later this year with PS5. But we wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this because we think it's a really poignant topic about what's going on in the world right now. Are comic book games with Kamala Khan, with Batgirl, with I think we can say King Shark counts as diversity, maybe. We can and Miles Morales are comic book properties a great way to get more diversity in the video game space as they're already in a way a proven commodity. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Gordon, let's start with you.
Oh wow, I think it's great. Games where we can play together, right? I think that people have their experience as hero, as protagonist, but what's really interesting now is that the games are connected, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for us to be able to have experiences where we play together, where we can be different and enjoy it. It's like something sports games have always had. So like you playing the Giants and going to a Super Bowl, right? That's obviously like high fantasy, and that's okay. I think that like these comic book heroes are sort of a similar experience where people will get a chance to navigate the world from a different perspective than reality, and that brings us all closer together because we can all share it and talk about it and just sort of love each other more.
Asif, what do you think?
Oh, I think with Avengers just came out this month, and I think it's done a lot for representation of Muslim people in video games with Kamala Khan. Like there aren't many games with Muslim protagonists, especially a female Muslim protagonist who's like young, and showing her dynamic with her family, like what it is like to be first generation in America, I think is really cool. I think the comic book space has been very open in that respect for a really long time, and it's getting better. And that has spilled over to video games. I hope someday it'll spill over to film as well, or TV. But yeah, I think Kamala Khan in Avengers is like a big win for diversity, for representation and stuff. And yeah, I think Miles Morales is another one of those examples of just a cool character who's not, a white dude with short hair and a beard that like is usually the protagonist in most video games. So I think comic books can definitely be a vehicle for that. And I think because those stories already exist, those universes already exist, it's cool to see game devs tell stories like that. And then in Avengers, they didn't really just take from the movies and then dump them onto the game, like which you see so many times in the past with comic book IP. They really made a new story for this, which I think is great. So I think, like comic books as a vessel for diversity, sure. I think they can continue to grow that in that respect.
Yeah, I think just to add on that a little bit, a lot of people nowadays are this and that, right? They aren't simply one thing where you could sort of synthesize. If you remember, like, I'll go back to geeky sports things. If you remember hockey on the Nintendo, right? And your team really was what it was. Like, we're going to be all big guys, or we're going to be all little guys, right? Or we're going to be our combination. But things are a little more complex now, right? It's a little bit more like Czech Republic back then. We were like, I'm two little guys, a medium guy, and a big, right? And having comic book characters in games where they are this and that, and you get to play them, I think is something that a lot of people connect to, because most people, regardless of their race or their orientation or being a Giants fan, right, or more than that, they're like there's like more to them, right? And so I think that,
more
like,
to them.
that like comic book games are a way that that say the same message, right? I don't, my feelings.
No, for sure. I mean, I definitely, I think it's great because for me, I mean, I know as a gamer, I just want the game to be good. I don't really care what you know what I mean? Like, and again, it's hard for me because I mean, and probably speaking a little bit for Lee and Finn, we've had plenty of representation over the years, right? We are the pale, short, white guys with beards that Asif mentioned before. So we're covered. But I think that I think just wanting I think it's great to see this, everybody getting a chance to be represented now. And for me as a gamer, it's just cool to just want good stories.
I can jump in here too and say a couple things. One, there's two things I have about this one. One is, my kids are half Hispanic. So when you look at a character like Miles Morales or even Kamala Khan, it's really cool for my son and daughter to see that. And they're going to grow up in that environment now where that's somewhat of the norm. And speaking of what you just said, yeah, we've had that our whole lives. So it's interesting for me to see, they say you live through your kids' eyes, to have them both see heroes now in that regard. You know, the other thing I wanted to say about this, and that it has to be said, is that I always love situations like this because video games are always tapped on for being too violent, right? And here are comic books and video games leading the way, leading the charge, as Asif said, you know, for changing things. Once again, proving that, you know, the geek community is so powerful in this regard and never gets the credit that it really does deserve for pushing the gamut. And I just love that side of not just the gaming world, right, but also film, hopefully, Asif, as you said, and, you know, comic books in nature, you know, they're the ones leading the charge for the next generation. So I think that what's going on, especially in the Avengers right now and in Spider-Man, is really powerful for the community.
Yeah. But if you go back even as far as like Street Fighter, right? The first time I guess, I don't know, for you, maybe a different journey. Like maybe you all played Ken when you started. I don't know.
Blanca all day.
I'm actually E Honda main, actually.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah,
and so
easy.
when you actually start to identify with who they are, right, and how they play, that's something that games uniquely do, right? And you start to find like who you are, right, and really sort of mirror that behavior. Like that's just between reading a story or I don't know, or watching a movie. Like you're getting to be yourself either as you are or as maybe you hope to be through these characters, right? And yeah, Avengers is an incredible part because there's an incredible universe, you know, of people that people are getting to play as, right? And that's something you'll never be able to take away from them. Their time as those characters.
You know, I think kind of adding that, I think we've come a long way from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, where there is representation in that game, but it's like stereotypical representation a lot of the time. And yeah, you are only playing as Little Mac, but you do go up against Piston Honda and Don Flamenco and like all these really Soda Popinski or whatever, like like really stereotypical characters. Like whereas like we're now moving to thinking about representation and like even not in a sports game or anything, but even recently with Tell Me Why, we're seeing trans representation in a video game really for the first time and done well. And like Ray said earlier, it's about like telling a good story because I think that'll resonate with any color person, any gender person, any gender identity person if you're telling a good story that's compelling. And I think that's where the medium as video games has really just taken off in these last 20 years, I think.
And there's also not the same history. I just thinking about like Black Panther as an example, right? And I don't know if you love Black Panther or not. Don't care. But I do. But if you decide to go be Black Panther for Halloween, right? There's a whole burden of history that's tied to that, right? That's not your fault, right? But it just is what it is. However, if you play him in a video game, that's a totally legitimate, obvious choice. You're like, that's my favorite. That's who I'm going to be. Like that's who I identify with. And that's something that games have that freedom, you know, give people that freedom, right? And it's awesome. It's great to be a part of it.
Awesome. Very cool. So moving on. Unless Finn, do you have anything you'd like to say, or any other points on this?
I will be honest. I have played like one superhero game ever. that was it.
As long as it wasn't Superman 64.
No.
Good,
I've played like one of the. Well, actually, no. I lied. I forgot he's not a superhero. Never mind.
Well, I'll give you a Philadelphia example though. Like if you go back in Madden days, when you first got to be Donovan McNabb, okay, there was a difference between you wearing a jersey, right, and being like, I am Donovan McNabb. Yeah. Look what I'm going to do to you, right? And games were probably the first affordance where you could take on that persona, right, without a feeling of appropriation. Like, nope, it's just how it's going to be. Like, I am. This is how the cards have been dealt to me. You know what I'm saying? Right?
Well, and even beyond McNabb, like, who didn't play as Michael Vick in 04, right? Like, I mean, because you knew if you could get to be the Falcons, you were going to break everybody's ankles, right? You didn't think, I mean, you played to win the game, and he was the best player in the game. Like,
Vince Young in NCAA, too. Like, they're, back when he was at UT.
Oh my gosh! See, maybe me. I'm one born for gimmick defenses. So those players to me are actually the greatest delight because I'm like, oh no, I will play whatever defense it takes to shut that down. But that's where my fantasy space is. It is purely on D. Like, oh, good luck with all these fast outside linebackers. Oh, you go whichever way you want. We'll be waiting for you with hugs.
Funny enough, that's what I used to do. If I ever
cornerbacks, all the swapping the rosters, all of it. Cornerbacks playing defensive end, absolutely. Whatever it takes to contain.
Well, actually, that's funny.
Jeez.
One of my best showings in Madden in a tournament was because somebody plays the Michael Vick Falcons, but I played as the Giants because I had Michael Strahan and Osi Umenyiora, and I ran nickel 9. I'll never forget this, nickel 9-2 Velcro, which is basically the defensive ends split off into the flats.
Right.
And they just sat there, and they're like, come on, Vic, either way, you're going to go left? Osi's there. You're going to go right? Michael Strahan's there. It's like,
Yeah.
so.
Once
Yeah.
again, proving that video games are real
Yes.
to us.
Yes.
To us.
Yes. And real to everyone here on the PAX 3 watching us. We see
There you go.
Thank
Yes.
you for being here.
Yes, thank you all for tuning in. So, speaking about a lot of video games, a lot of things were just announced also this week with from Nintendo. We had the Super Mario 3D All Stars that's coming, Super Mario Brothers 35, which of course celebrating the 35th anniversary of Mario. But what's interesting is that both these games are getting limited release windows, right? And so that basically means in 6 months, Super Mario Brothers 3D 35 is being taken off the Nintendo online store, and Super Mario 3D All Stars they're putting it back into the Nintendo vault. They're taking it off shelves. They're not going to make it anymore. They said it's only out for 6 months. Is this brilliant marketing by Nintendo, or is this are they shooting themselves in the foot here with taking games that are obviously super popular that people are already super hyped about and taking them down? Well, I want to get your guys' thoughts. Asif, let's start with you.
I'm a Nintendo shareholder, so full disclosure out there. I've owned it for quite a bit. So, you know why they chose March? It's not like next year is Mario's 36th anniversary, right?
Right.
They chose March because their fiscal year ends in March. And they did not provide software guidance that was that good. Like their software sales guidance was flat for this year compared to last year. So none of these games they just announced were included in that fiscal guidance that they gave us. This is like sandbagging of epic proportions. And then they're like stoking the fire by saying, oh, you like Mario? Well, you can only get it for this many days. And it's like, it's not a coincidence that you have Series X and PS5 launching during the same window. Like they needed a fall title, and maybe there's still something else coming. Like maybe there's a November thing from Nintendo. So I think that's part of the equation, is that they want to drive sales to these next 2 quarters. When it comes to Mario 35, I don't know what the hell they're doing. That game could be awesome, and they didn't do this with Tetris 99. Tetris 99 is still on the store.
And still phenomenal, yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
So if this is like the Tetris 99 of Mario, I'm sad that they're going to take it away from us. But I'm going to be playing the hell out of it come October because I feel like I've been training for this game my whole life. I'm like a Super Mario Maker 2 fan. I played Mario Maker 1. I've beaten every single 3D Mario, but I'm like especially fond of the 2D Mario games, especially fond of the 8-bit games and the soundtrack and everything. So I'm in. Next year happens to be the 35th anniversary of another Nintendo IP called Zelda.
Dun,
So it's like,
da-da-da-da-da.
so I feel like they're giving us the playbook and they're just going to do this again to us next year. And we're all suckers. If you love Nintendo, you're going to buy this. Like, I saw so many people complaining about it on my Twitter feed this week. And it's like, be honest with yourself. You were going to buy this day one if you wanted to play Mario 64, in my case, Sunshine, or in other people's case, Galaxy. Like, I honestly was talking to one of my friends before this came out, and I was like, I was hoping Nintendo wasn't going to nickel and dime us and charge $60 for each of the games. So at least we get all 3 of them for $60. I was like, I thought the Nintendo tax was going to be even higher for this. But so like, I feel like Nintendo fans, like legit Nintendo fans, are not going to be complaining about this once they get the game in their hands. But I do think it's financially driven. I don't think that it's like, I think it's silly and stupid, but
I think it's an interesting explanation because most of you probably download games, right? Mm-hmm. So I think you think about retail. If you remember going to the store
retail.
To go into the store, right?
Once upon a time,
the expectation of what shelf space means, I bet, has really changed. And so the idea that games could be sort of seasonal and they'd have this like, oh, we're only going to put this on Target, right, or Walmart for 6 months, and then we're going to replace it, as you've already said what they're going to replace with, right, with something that's going to come, that's going to be a big event then, and then there's no inventory expectation, right? Like when it's like the Cadbury Bunny. Like people love the Cadbury Bunny, right? No one complains that it goes away each year. They're like excited. And how exciting for them to condition people to pay in a new way. Like you're actually describing it like a feature. Like it's not actually in the game. The game is just a video game. But the fact that it's only here till March is like a feature, like that could be on the back of the box that thus has value that they're monetizing. That's new. Like they've invented a new feature.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm just happy that we're getting another Nintendo Switch Online game that isn't just a port of SNES title or a port of an NES title. Like they're running out of things to put on the NES part of Switch Online. Yeah. I thought Tetris 99 was awesome, and it is awesome. And like when they did that, I was like, man, I want more stuff like this. Or like, I don't know if you guys have played Tecmo Bowl on Switch Online, but it has online play. Like they put netcode in that game, and it actually is good. So like things like that, I wanted to see more of. And this Mario 35 thing is that. I don't. But that game, that's the one where I'm like, God, it's going to suck when they get rid of that. But I hope maybe it's going to be something where, because it's essentially Mario Battle Royale, and Battle Royales function in seasons, right? So maybe we get like a second season of Mario 35 or something.
Yeah. But, and even this conversation is great. Like think like right now, I imagine, right, that Sony wishes you were talking about PlayStation 5. I imagine that Microsoft wishes you were talking about Xbox. But hardcore fans, right, hardcore gamers with their hardcore, like, grown-up dollars are, like, speculating about the Mario, right? We're talking about Mario like a PlayStation 5, like an Xbox with the same, like, passion.
Yeah,
like,
Mario is still king. He's still king in the industry. He's yet to be dethroned.
Well, I also think on the Xbox side, they're struggling mightily with their first-party lineup this fall.
Oh, with Halo being delayed and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's very true. This is a good chance for Nintendo with basically just repurposing old product to come in and still get a lion's share of the market in the fall, depending on what goes on.
They're reimagining.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I don't know. I pay ridiculously close attention to their unit sales. You can slap Mario on Switch, Mario anything on Switch, and it'll sell 5 million units.
Yeah,
and that's like $300 million. They should do more Mario, slap Mario on more things. Out of everything they announced, I don't know if you mentioned it in the rundown, but that Mario Kart thing, that mixed reality,
the augmented
reality.
That's
cool.
Just sticking a little camera on an old RC car was the most brilliant. Now, unfortunately, I have carpet in my apartment, so I can't play it here probably. But
I have hardwood floors in Philadelphia, Ray.
Wait! For people at home who don't know, like me, what are you talking about?
Oh, you're gonna love this. Gordon.
Oh, so what Nintendo has done is that they've set up basically it's little RC cars of Mario Kart or Luigi or actual physical RC car of the Mario Karts. They put little cameras on them, kind of like the ones they kind of look like the cameras you have on some of the back of some of your cars now. Those reverse cameras, they're like yay big. And what ends up happening is you can set up like 4 gates and program a course in your house that then translates to your Switch, and you drive the RC cart as if you're driving a new course in Mario Kart.
Mm-hmm. So wait, mixed reality.
I drive my RC car like an amiibo in my car around my real house.
Yes,
but with my Switch.
Yeah, and your Switch shows you a mixed reality display of what's happening with enemies and shells.
So like Rainbow Road and stuff.
In your house.
Not necessarily that. It's going to be your house, but like you'll see Bowser or you'll see like a blue shell go by and stuff.
But how's it not? So you go in a loop? Like, what?
You can make the course however you want, actually. You could. They actually showed figure eights and all this other stuff on it's. You program the course with the gates they give you. In the
or you
in the
could
set.
have no course and just do like GTA style.
Stop it! With my Switch. Okay, that is a game. Okay, think about it from a holiday. Anyone who has kids. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna try to get them to go plug in to your console device or get them to download your 8 gig download of whatever, or they have a fun car they can run around with now on Rainbow Road in your house.
Gordon,
like mind blown.
As a father, the ability to get revenge on your children, both my wife and I, this is the opportunity of a lifetime, needless to say.
Yeah, I just think the companies, like Nintendo's doing really interesting things, experimenting with Switch. You know, Labo was one of those things.
Yeah.
And once again, really great for kids. Nintendo has always been like a family-friendly brand, right?
Yeah.
Lego, what they've done with Lego this year is outstanding. So I feel like this is just an extension of that same philosophy. It's like they're taking their IP, they're taking one of the most popular Switch games, right? I think it is the most popular Switch game.
I think Mario Kart's still the best selling game, yeah.
Just barely. Animal Crossing's coming for it, though.
Yes.
That came out of nowhere, right? But yeah, I think taking their most popular IP and turning it into like a really compelling toy that does something that really no one else is doing, and embracing that handheld aspect of the Switch, which is, in my opinion, a key differentiator this fall to their new competitors like the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Like, I think another selling point to parents is that your Switch does not take up a TV screen, right?
Yeah.
And we're seeing different households with multiple Switches now for that reason.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
2021 call. If they could sell little gates and we could all buy them, I would visit you all in like virtual Animal Crossing. Like you set up your gates at your house and I can like walk my little dude over and then like be in your house.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Like, I'm just saying.
Oh my God. So apply this whole mixed reality thing to like Isabel.
Yeah.
Like, there's like a little animatronic Isabel that just walks around houses visiting people.
Can you imagine?
I'm
Social
in.
distance. I'm in too. I'm like, Nintendo, take all the monies, please.
Free idea for Nintendo.
So quickly before we move on, I just want to quickly get Finn's opinion on Mario, just because Finn, full disclosure, as the youngest of the five of us here, you might not have been around for a couple of these Mario games. Are you excited at all for the Mario 3D All-Stars and a chance to play these games?
I haven't played a Mario game since I was probably 16. So, but I've played a lot. I used to play it a lot I had a Nintendo 64 growing up.
So will this get you back into Nintendo and Mario?
Possibly. I do want to get a Switch, but I haven't seen them anywhere. Like ever since the pandemic occurred, they've been like sold out everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's changed now. I haven't looked, but I remember like they were like $500 or $600 on Amazon, like people reselling them.
Don't do that.
Don't pay scalpers.
No, I hate flippers. No.
Yeah,
I'm gonna jump back on real quick
it's
and
been
say
selling. It's been selling out. Like,
and that's one thing I think with this whole thing with the limited time to buy. I think that's gonna be prime time for flippers.
I'm also going to jump in quick and tell Asif, I am also a Nintendo shareholder. So, Finn, what you're saying is music to my ears.
Well, aren't you guys all smart for getting Nintendo stock?
Yes,
all right,
we are.
So we briefly talked about Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. So the new next generation of consoles are supposedly right around the corner, coming in the next couple of months. Guys, are there any titles that you guys are particularly excited for? And also, I want to get your thoughts on what this could mean for sports games in the next generation, because we were talking a lot earlier before we started recording about Madden and its current state. What are you guys expecting for sports games in the next generation, and any other titles are you particularly excited for? We'll start with Finn. We'll start with you. We'll start with you this time, Finn.
I don't know. I've just been let down so many years with so many games. I think, in all honesty, the only two sports games that have not disappointed me are MLB and, honestly, one I rarely play, and that's NBA. I just feel like NBA has the best career mode out of all four sports games. It's the most in-depth, in my opinion. Don't even get me started on Madden's face of the franchise. I don't know what that was this year, but I'll get into that though. But I don't know. And one thing that does worry me about NBA 2K is that I think now if they start doing more games, because now they did PGA, I think PGA is a downgrade to NBA. I still think it's a great game. It's very addictive, but I think if they start doing more sports games, it's going to end up being like a little lazy, if you know what I mean.
Well, they also have like huge market share, right? When it comes to NBA 2K, because NBA Live, they can't even get it out the door every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but like Ray, to your question about next gen sports titles, I feel like the first year of a console, they tend to be some of the wackest sports games, because EA and Take-Two, they're having to develop for two platforms simultaneously.
So I feel like it won't be the biggest upgrade.
Yeah, usually you get that huge upgrade the second year of a new console. So I'm not expecting anything out of Madden at all, because I have it on PC and it still sucks. So like, it does not matter how many teraflops you have. Like, someone needs to fix Madden. Like, there's hashtags out there about Madden being a monopoly, fixing Madden, fixing franchise mode. There's a lot that needs to be done there. So I'm not getting my hopes up about Madden.
Still want to know how I can re-sign anyone on the Eagles, because I have no money and I don't know where it's gone. I know, but it's like, how are the Eagles able to re-sign these guys every year, yet I can't?
But 2K did show off some really early next-gen footage of NBA 2K. I think it was during the PS5 reveal.
Yeah.
Then it looked really good. So, like, I know that these companies are clearly working on a next-gen engine. I'm sure Frostbite is working on their new engine, right, over at EA. And there will be a better-looking FIFA and a better-looking Madden and maybe a better-looking NHL down the road or something. But I don't think this is the year for that. I think that I kind of want to push back on PGA. I was pleasantly surprised about PGA 2K21.
So was I. No, I love it. Graphic wise, it's definitely a downgrade to NBA.
Sure. Oh no question.
The players are a little creepy looking.
Like, for me, it's the announcers. Like, they just say the dumbest stuff, like, all the time. Like, they're like, this is to win the tournament, and I'm putting I'm like 3 strokes back from first place, and they're like, this is to win the tournament, and it's not. It's like, that breaks immersion. They're like, oh, that's going straight for the fairway, and it's like in a bunker. It's like,
yeah.
Guys, I do know a great play-by-play guy we can talk about later that might be able to fix that. We'll get into
that. I would love that.
I think things are going to actually zig where you're thinking they're going to zag. I think moments in next-gen history. So you remember with, I guess I keep going back to Donovan McNabb. So remember when the PlayStation 4 was going to come out and he was going to be breathing and it was so cool, like that whole vibe. And then I think a lot of people who were old-time players thought that would make franchise cooler, when really their focus was on making Madden Ultimate Team cooler, right? Which is a whole different set of people who are deeply immersed in this collectible card game thing, which is not franchise mode by any stretch.
Right?
It's not based franchise. Yeah, right. I understand. However, a lot of people did, right? And they are like the fastest growing source of revenue, right? For Madden, by far, right?
It's gambling. You don't know what you're gonna get, and it becomes it's no different than being addicted to slot machines, in my opinion. Like, I think that it's.
My point being is that I think what's going to happen is this. So you know how they talk about how the controllers are really cool, right? And you're getting all this feedback. You're like, oh, and it feels so good in my hands, like it's talking to me through my hands. Everyone's going to be like, how does this affect like gameplay and spinning or whatever, kicking field goals? No. When they make that controller do something fun inside the Madden Ultimate Team, okay, where you're getting those like Lord of the Rings slot machine vibes, holding the controller, where you're getting that feedback that's, I don't know what it is, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it just feels really good to get a new pack of cards. Oh, right? that hand massage or whatever it's going to do, right?
Oh, man.
That is going to be the thing, which is going to be like the hockey stick of money. They're not going to be able to count the money. Right? Yeah. And you'll be like, what about the salary cap? They're about your salary cap. They're going to be like, what about unrestricted free agents? No. It's going to be collecting those cards and the feeling of like, you ever play Wheel of Fortune, the slot machine? Like Wheel of Fortune? Wheel of Fortune? Yeah. Okay. Imagine if you could hug the machine while you're playing it.
Fortune.
Yeah, right? But imagine if you could hold that machine and have all those feelings. Yeah. That, I think, is what they're going to be able to do with like PlayStation 5 and Xbox One X. If you're deep in that world, it's going to be even like blah.
I can see EA like, this game has no revenue salary cap. We're going for the sky as much as we can. No, it's sports games are getting so bloated. And, my quick comment on this is I wish – I know it's not possible. I just wish the competition would come back. When these companies compete, the consumer wins. And now they found this honey hole, and it's going to continue this way. We just spoke to the developers of another game like Super Blood Hockey, and I was talking about how refreshing that game is because it's not NHL. It's just a fun hockey game. You know what I mean? So I'd like to see some of that competition or just other options come back into the game market, but I think we're a long ways away from that.
I'd be curious actually if kids play. Like, I mean, I know like we franchise mode happened in. Wait a second, I invented season mode. I'm sorry, season mode happened in my lifetime. I forget. But the point being,
It's true.
Like it happened like in our
high score,
lifetimes.
folks.
Yeah, but for kids, I wonder if how many kids actually on board into Madden through Ultimate Team. Not through playing the Giants or the whatever.
Yeah.
They just make their own crazy jerseys. They pick who they want. Because remember, they're all post-fantasy football kids. So fantasy football's around their entire life, right? So the idea of, like, I get to pick who I want to be and ba-da-da-da is normal, like, default for them. And, like, they might have, like, a whole different worldview of what they want in – by the way, whoever Madden is, right? Because hasn't been around in their lifetime. Like, they've never seen him on TV. Never seen him ever.
Yeah,
right?
hasn't been in the game in years. Yeah,
hasn't been in the game, right? So they might have like a wild view and all the revenue of what Madden needs to be. That's not informed by like 20 years of history, but just like, have you seen the platinum cards? Oh, there need to be super platinum cards or whatever, because that's how we play.
That same age group though, when they play NBA 2K, they play the career mode because what Finn said, the career mode in NBA 2K is excellent. And it does have microtransaction hooks in it, too.
And you can also play with other people, and you can buy yourself. I mean, I would never spend money, real money, work money, IRL work money.
Yeah.
Not my things that I earn, not my contracts in the game, but like I would never spend my hard-earned money on microtransactions or in-game currency.
But then wouldn't you be sort of dead to them? Like, think about it. Like, hear yourself. If you actually said that, like, I will never spend another penny.
Anything offline.
Right? I'd be like, okay.
Oh my goodness.
Don't let the door hit you.
They don't care about
I just had a question about NBA 2K this year, though. Because the basketball season or postseason is still going on right now. The 2020 season. It's still happening. We don't even have new rosters. Like, free agency hasn't happened. Like, it seems like the weirdest thing to release. I know they had to release it when they did, but 2K21, I'm not that interested in buying it right now. I'm more interested in watching the playoffs and then seeing where free agents go.
I'm sure there will be a roster update, though.
Patch,
But like right now,
I mean, isn't that what pretty much every new sports game is?
Well, I think that to Asif's point, I think that's why a lot of folks are waiting until the new generation comes out, even for NBA 2K21. And I think that's why it was part of the PS5 showcase, is because I think that 2K understands that it's not going to be until that roster update after the draft, after free agency, all that other stuff, that'll be day and date with the PS5 and Xbox Series X version of the game. So I'm actually curious to see what the numbers are doing right now for the game, because I know a lot of folks who, like myself, are going to wait for next gen for that particular game for that very reason.
And then another problem I have with the series, when it comes to the career mode, you invest all that time into grinding your player up, and then none of it carries over to the next year. So I have a lot of friends that they're still playing 2K19 because they're still playing their career in 2K19, right? Or in my case, the Cavs haven't been relevant in 2 years, right? So like I go back and play 2K16, right? Or, when Kyrie was on the team, like, and LeBron.
Really,
who was good.
You don't stockpile draft choices? That's what I used to love to do. I'd be like, I'm going to stockpile draft. I'm going to trade everything I got, every asset. I used to like the Clippers. I'll trade every asset to just to build a team in my image for the future.
You're the process.
Yes, I am the process. Exactly. The pandemic has totally killed the vibe a little bit, right? Of our annual expectations around sports.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. Around when the finals even are, like, because you're like saying the NBA finals are still going on, and I just looked at my computer screen, and I was like, but it's September 5th, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait.
New season should be starting.
It's accurate, and there's uncertainty, right, around when the new season would even be, like, when it even is the NBA draft. Is it during the NFL season?
Yes.
Like, there's a lot of things that are going to be, like, when all this hits reality, like, there's going to be some really strange programming for those of us who have, like, an annualized sense of time.
And will it be permanent, too?
I feel like they're going to have to truncate a season coming up so they can get back on the old schedule.
I think it's going to be very unlikely that this is going to be the schedule from now on, to Finn's point. I think it's going to be, you'll have one season where it might be truncated or the dates will be closer together to this season to get them back on track. So you'll have shortened off seasons for a couple of years.
Personally, I don't think there should even be an off season for hockey. Maybe a few weeks, but if they just had like how many months off? What more of a break do you need?
This is what I love about this show. We've naturally switched from geeks to sportsdom, which is exactly the point.
Yes.
So I am going to bring this topic up right now because we are talking about it. One of the questions was, and we naturally progressed to it, is what does everybody think about the way sports are going? And one of the big things that we need to bring up here is there's no guarantee that there is going to be a next season just yet. All right. Yeah. Because it's something we have to talk about, especially with the NHL and the NBA, whose players are now in a bubble, and it's been very successful. But fans haven't really had this conversation of, can we expect NHL and NBA players to be in a bubble for an entire season? Because there's no way that the NHLPA is going to let that happen. There's no way the players are going to do that after being away from their families for most of them. So, again, we don't know what's going to happen right now. We know football is going to try and be better than baseball because they have to try and, well, it's not going to be hard to be better than what baseball did this year. But let's continue to talk about this. What's everybody's thoughts on where this is going right now?
I think there's an MVP that we're not considering, and I mean a most valuable pandemic that doesn't care when your draft is, does not care about your home and away schedule.
Exactly.
You have not noticed, has taken little consideration into what conferences are going to play football this season.
Yep.
The pandemic is ongoing.
Yeah,
and
the pandemic is Dikembe Mutombo, and
exactly,
everyone else is trying to shoot.
Not know.
Exactly. And I think that the disruptions, right? If you had looked back 6 months ago and said, predict where we'd be now, right? That would have been a very hard guess, right? And I'll offer that's the same thing. If you were to predict 6 months from now, even, right? Forget a whole nother season. Forget a truncated season, right? We have, unfortunately, a lot of truncation is going on, unfortunately, because of what's affecting everyone. And everyone's sort of going to try to do their best. But the idea of preserving annual records and scoring averages and triple crowns and whatever, that's out the window for the next year.
Yeah, Gordon, here's another thing too. When people ask me about my teams, like, and how they're performing in the playoffs, and is it going to suck if your team gets knocked out? I just go back, like, I'm watching hockey in August and September. I'm pretty happy right now that it's even on the TV. And that everyone's safe. So, like, a little bit of its perspective. I mean, fandom is a very important part of sports, and I get it, but I'm also a little bit just thankful that we even have the opportunity to watch sports at all right now. So, like, if my teams get knocked out, I'm just like, hey, I still get to watch the NHL. I still get to watch the NFL, like in all the other sports leagues as well. I have problems with baseball right now, but we'll talk about that. It's just, you got to be a little bit thankful here of, hey, I'm glad there's a season on right now, and this is very much a day at a time. And that as much as we love sports, as you said, the MVP, the most valuable pandemic, which we're going to use from now on, it truncates all of it.
There's also a sixth man to consider. And you're not going to want to hear this, but I'm going to tell you, everyone at home knows this, the Chinese television market. So as we may all know, the Premier League just terminated their Chinese TV deal for like $200 million. They didn't get the payment, right? The NBA facing challenges collecting that money. Right, upon which many of these salary caps, many of these economies are foundationally built. There is no level of certainty, right, of the revenue which is going to come from the world's biggest market into all of these leagues in the year ahead, which will be, like I say, at the sixth man, the most radical change that's going to affect everybody, right? And what sports look like here, we're talking about American sports for the most part, right? But here in American sports over the next year, right? Because if everyone has to take a big pay cut at the NBA, right, that's going to be the number one thing, not even the bubble, right? Big pay cut. Well, all the sports, hockey, baseball, all these things.
No, Gordon, you're dead right. I think the other aspect of it, beyond television deals, beyond streaming deals, every single one of these sports is built on spectators being in massive arenas. 10, 20, 100, like 120,000 people fit in the big house in Ann Arbor, right? If you don't have that economy around the sport, you're dead right. The money's not going to be there. And then there's going to be a work stoppage. Like, there's going to be the LeBron James of the world or Messi or in whatever sport.
Yes.
You know, that's why Mahomes signed that deal before the season. You know, like these guys are getting their obligations. They're getting their guaranteed money, right? Like now. I think that's even why LeBron signed a 4-year deal in LA to begin with. He didn't know that there was a pandemic coming, but he knew that there was uncertainty about television money. And I think it's a really good point you bring up about, and this goes beyond sports,
Right.
but how Tencent specifically affects game development. And it's no coincidence that these 3 Mario games that are in 3D All-Stars have already released on NVIDIA Shield in China.
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence. So, and you go back to the beginning of this NBA season when there was all this fighting about Hong Kong still, and how some players were trying to keep the peace because they knew there's a lot of money there.
You know, and I'll harp back to make this kind of realistic. It's kind of like what Finn said earlier in the show, except it's going to be in real life. The Eagles are not going to know where all of their money went. As Finn said, where did my money go? And that's what's going to happen in these leagues. But yeah, look, it's a day at a time like type thing. And again, there's going to be a lot of, you know, there's going to be a lot of discussion between the PAs and the leagues, and revenues are absolutely going to come down, and they're going to have to deal with that and have some tough conversations here. But hopefully they'll do the right thing, like unlike baseball, which I'm going to keep knocking on, and find a pathway forward. Because outside the NFL, Asif, as you said, all of these leagues, they rely on consumers coming to the game, on fans coming. That's their number one revenue source. If that's not there, they will not be able to maintain themselves. And I really hope that this opens the way for XFL 23 on the Xbox, led by The Rock. I'm ready for that. It's time. Bring on the competition.
So watching sports, and I know y'all are very excited to watch a game tonight, right? And I get that sports are back. Data point of 1, find the empty arena sports stranger to watch. I can't put my finger on it, but it just isn't what I thought it was. Like I like it, but it's not exactly the same. And I think there's going to be a real challenge, over time, when NFL looks more like a XFL game without that many fans there, right? And I get it's going to be the same players, theater, whatever, high school, right? But it looks and it sounds like a palpable different product than what we've been raised on,
right?
Like crossed with time. We'll see. Either more people are going to watch because they're like, oh my God, that's all there is, or it'll be like now where, once again, I don't know the numbers. Jump in at any time, but I don't know that people know everything's going on with the NBA right now.
Have you seen the scoring though in the NBA? I think that players are less shook playing in Disney World than they would be playing at an away game, right?
Absolutely.
Or playing at Madison Square Garden or something.
I think that's in all sports right now. Because again, if you're a professional athlete,
baseball too.
Yeah, and I can speak to this, right? If you're a professional athlete, your level of focus is already off the charts, right? Now there's no real distractions there outside, the fake fans or the
no hecklers. No hecklers.
Right, exactly. And I think a little thing is just like in the NBA, just taking a foul shot without people behind the net going crazy. The focus they're already at another level. So, and you can see this, like you said, in all of the major sports. I expect us to see it in football this year too, that there is absolutely I don't want to call it a skill jump, but there's a focus explosion going on right now that's allowing these guys to focus at a totally different level.
Yep.
Well, and I think even in baseball, I think the empty crowds, again, to the guys' points, is that I think that's why you're seeing a lot of guys underperforming typically to their standards, because it's weird when you hit a home run 440 feet and I think a meme started about the lonely baseball the other day about just sitting in the concrete bleachers at Yankee Stadium, because it's really weird to see. And I think so that's why I think it's actually good to baseball and to basketball, because the action on the court, you focus less on the crowd. In baseball, at least from my perspective, the home run, the fans reaching for foul balls and going crazy for home runs and reaching over and interacting with the ball boys and stuff. The crowd, I think, in baseball, it being absent, I think you're really seeing the game. It's very detrimental. And also the travel for baseball has clearly been detrimental to the game instead of doing a bubble city, because we've had 4 outbreaks now where teams have had to literally cancel 2 weeks of their season apiece. I think the Cardinals, the Marlins.
Cardinals have 7 doubleheaders to play or something.
The Yankees
like that,
too.
right?
It's been ridiculous. So I think definitely there's still a lot that we're going to have to work out with.
And the Phillies.
Well,
And then, you could talk about the NCAA and what's going on with college football right now. And
Oh,
how
I feel so bad for those kids.
there's
Yeah.
no leadership. There's
Yeah.
different conferences. But, I'm up here in Ohio, and, like, this is, like, all we care about is football in this town.
Right.
Like, I'm literally in Canton, Ohio, home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, right? So, like, it's all we care about here is football.
No.
Everyone's furious that Ohio State's not playing. But I've read about why the Big Ten and the Pac-12 have decided not to play, and it's because of this incidence of myocarditis in professional or young athletes.
Right.
These are players that could earn hundreds of millions of dollars in the future, and you're risking their lives for nothing.
Well, there's two things. One, there's only a couple kids who can earn all that money. All the other kids are not going to earn that money, and they'll still have the same thing with their hearts, forever.
But that's
it'll be like the
infinite
new
liability for
Yes,
a university.
Well, it'll be like a new concussion that you knew about all along, right? And they've sort of been through that with concussions.
that's
Like
a
they
great
know
comparison,
about it,
dude.
and it's going to be like these kids are going to be 30, right, with heart conditions, or 19 or 20, like young people trying to function. Like that's no good. Number one. Number two, though, I want to go back to Ray's point, which is super interesting to me, which is the idea of new clutch players who actually the affordance of the bubbles and no crowds that they rise to it, and they all their lives be like, God, if there would just be no fans, this would be perfect. I'm now a 600 hitter. I now can score every night because, like Philadelphia, like, God, that gritty throws me off my game. No gritty? Oh my God, I am finally able to be all I ever was.
Gritty is everywhere all the
Right.
time, Gordon.
Right?
And then the inverse,
ever-present.
teams that benefit from their home court advantages.
Yes.
The
and
Lakers.
players, like
The
random,
Lakers, the
like,
Yankees, like there's definitely a lot of teams that thrive off that.
Mhm.
But also to Gordon's point, until he got hurt again, Giancarlo Stanton was having a career year, and it's like probably because not every Yankee fan isn't booing him every game because he's garbage.
Well, and we should also use the NHL as a great example here.
Yeah.
We've had 3 series at 3-1 go to Game 7. I guarantee you that does not happen if there is a home ice advantage in some of these games, right? There's no distractions, and the guys are very able to focus. So, and again, I don't remember the last time I saw 3-1 series go to a Game 7. I'm not sure if that's actually ever happened.
I've not watched a lot of hockey. What does it sound like? Do they play like the organ? Like, is the organ still going?
no,
There's like fan sounds playing.
Yeah.
I'll
it's
hear
really
like,
funny.
oh, like during like the hockey games. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
been
in the
really
NBA's
interesting when
case, they
someone
have
scores.
they have that like wall of virtual fans that you can be a part of. Like saw
I do like
Scottie
what the
Pippen was
NBA
there
is
one
doing though.
night.
I do like that a lot.
They're trying.
Think
I
about
agree
that.
that it's not the same. And I think you have was that kid Murray on the Nuggets who's like playing out of his mind right now. Who like no one knew going into the playoffs. Like Damian Lillard was materially better in the bubble. You can go down the list. Players are shooting a lot better there than they would have been, I think.
Here's a hard question. Now this is the Finn. Do you want it in your games? Ask it to Ray. Do you want this? Okay, if it's in the game, it's in the game. How much of what is happening in the world right now?
Corona
Super real.
mode?
No, it's not. Oh, Corona's not a mode. Corona's reality.
No, it's like in the game.
like MLB,
Corona.
MLB the Show adding like a 60-game season.
Yeah,
and
no,
with no crowd noise.
And that being your choice because that's what's real, right?
I
Same
would
thing,
love
football.
that. I would absolutely love that.
You get to be a part of it then.
I
Like
would,
if I could
would
start a
argue
new
that.
franchise mode and it would say, do you want to start from like a 60-game season for 2020? That would be pretty cool.
I think
I would like the
basketball-
option. I don't know if I would take it, but I think the option would be. I think first off, it would show that just how connected they are to reality. Because sometimes I think game companies can sometimes be a little disconnected and a little don't not necessarily have their hand on the pulse of things. I think it would be a good option. I don't know if I would take that option necessarily, but I think a lot of folks would.
I think it'd be too much for a lot of people. I think that games are a place that at some level, all the realism aside, you want to play, and the game which is happening in real life is not as attractive a proposition as you
I
would
agree,
predict,
Gordon.
even virtually.
Yeah, I agree. I play sports games for an escape because I'm a Cleveland
Yeah.
sports fan and all my teams suck. So like, I go to that place to like imagine a world where my teams don't suck.
Yes.
And I think included in that is imagining a world where the pandemic isn't happening.
It's
You know, so I think that people are going. I think more than most years, people are going to go to sports games this year for escape, and I think that we saw that during the strike years in the mid '90s in the MLB, or like during the work stoppages years in NBA. You know,
in
it's
NHL
like,
too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like people go to sports titles for an escape. And that if you want to be a sim, though, if Madden is a football simulator, they should offer that. And NBA should offer that. But I wouldn't play that.
So one of the beautiful things about Geeks Who Like Sports is our community and our fan base. As Ray said throughout the episode today, we have found this group of people that are just like us, that love sports and love games together. So we thought it would be appropriate to ask one of our fans a question of the entire panel here for PAX today. So a little bit of bonus content for you today. Our question today comes from Randall. I'm going to read it right here. It's a really great question. Which 80s property would you like to see turned into a game, and what type of game would it be? His example was The Last Starfighter as an RPG. So I'm actually going to throw this to you, Ray, right away. This is a great question. Okay, you have to have been alive in the 80s or experienced 80s culture a bit. Finn, I hope you can handle this. But Ray, you're up. Go ahead. Jump on there.
The thing is that whenever I think of an 80s, a specifically 80s property that I want more of, or I want a new game or anything, because we did have one actually about a decade ago now, but I want another one because it's been so long, and that one was great 11 years ago. I want another Ghostbusters game.
Yeah.
I want another Ghostbusters video game. I mean, something even similar to what they had did in that game 11 years ago. Just continue the story just like you did there. Have me go busting ghosts. You know, they tied it in with the slime and Gozer and all that, but just continue it. You know, that game took place like 4 years after Ghostbusters 2. You can do something into the 2000s. You can continue what they're going to hopefully do with the movie Afterlife, which if it ever comes out, please come out soon. Even video on demand. I'll tell you, I need more Ghostbusters in my life. It's that simple. Just give me another Ghostbusters video game, please. Please, a good one too. Not a twin stick shooter like you had a few years ago. That was bad.
That's a great one. I knew you'd say that because it's one of your favorite properties, and it's well deserved. Gordon, what about you? Jumping down to you here.
Oh, this is obvious to me. I would have a game. I'd combine and allow people to use all the fighting mechanics of all games, right? You can bring your Scorpion, you bring your Ken, bring whatever you bring. It, of course, would be tied to the greatest brand of the 80s, Bloodsport. And we would all be like in local kumites. You bring whatever. You bring whatever character. I don't care. Bring what you got, right? Bring
the
your
guy
League
from
of Legends.
Karate Champ.
Exactly. Bring the guy from Karate Champ. Bring it. Like everyone bringing their stuff, right, to the Kumite, thinking that because their game is so strong that of course they're gonna win in the Kumite, but then discovering that like it just, you know, it doesn't work against other games, other styles. That would be it. It'd be the Fall Guys of the decade. Everyone want to play it. Everyone want to stream it. Everyone think they have this original secret character that have you heard about? You know, whatever, right? Oh no, that's just a rumor. That's not a real character, right? Bloodsport.
Nice.
Right. That's a great one, and a fighting game. It would make a lot of sense. Finn, where are you on with this one?
I don't even know any games from the 80s.
Were you born
brands,
in the 80s?
brands.
Or the 90s?
No,
Brands. It could be
97.
It could be My Little Pony. It could be anything.
97. Where do you find these guys?
The internet.
Wow.
Put it on the internet. All right. So Finn, we need you to jump back in and go to your 1980s lore. There's some gold gems back there, but I'll jump to Asif right now. I don't want to
tell you what. I'll look up some. All right.
There you go. This
I got to pick a game from the 80s. Correct.
No. It's
a brand,
from
an
the
IP.
Ghostbusters, Karate Kid.
Okay.
What you know, like Bloodsport, like Gordon said. Like there's Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and their failed
So,
attempt.
Gordon, you're muted. I think Gordon. I think you were.
Unmute. He wasn't born. You're like yelling the 1960s at him. You're like
Yes.
the Beatles.
The Beatles.
Duran Duran.
Yet
Buddy
we all
Holly.
know that.
Be free.
That's the 70s. Asif, let's jump down to you because I know you got one here.
The Running Man. I know they made a
that's a
video
great
game
idea.
for it, but
Great
man,
idea.
think about like a new Running Man game.
Right.
Like, obviously it would be a survival game. It could be co-op PvE kind of thing. Maybe it's a little bit of a battle royale kind of setup, but like,
It's a great idea.
I would love a new Running
Great
Man.
idea. Great idea.
Yeah.
I, as Finn is looking quickly on his computer at any 80s movie he can find, I got a little bit of a weird one. I thought about this because there's always two 80s shows that I loved, and it was the A-Team and Knight Rider. And I was like, well, I got to pick one. A-Team would make a
No.
really great game.
A-Team versus Knight Rider.
Right, yeah,
Exactly.
yes,
That's exactly where I went. I said, I
Yes.
need to make a game of A-Team and Knight Rider working together in a GTA format for this time period. It would be brilliant. It would be awesome. You could still get some of the voice actors from the time period. I mean, I would love to talk to Kit and drive Kit around. And like Kit's a mission, you have to get to Kit. You don't just get Kit at the start of the game, right? And then you got
And
the
you
band.
still have to like drug B.A. Baracus to get him to do anything.
Oh no, but it'd be like an anadart. You'd be like the anadart. You had to chase him down like anadart.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And it would sell 100 million copies overnight. A-Team versus or A-Team. I don't know if it's A-Team versus Knight Rider or A-Team v Knight Rider as we would say nowadays. But yeah, that's where I was gonna go. Okay. With that said, Finn, you've had a minute.
All right, I'm just gonna go. I know movies usually don't do too well when converted to video games, but wouldn't like a Field of Dreams movie be pretty cool?
Oh, that's a great idea.
Oh, yeah,
Wasn't that the
Field of
90s?
It's
It came up for the 80s. I don't know.
Okay, and I think it came out in
89.
Oh,
It counts.
okay. All
I
right.
remember getting my VHS copy of that at
Yep.
McDonald's when they were doing VHS tapes as part of like.
Okay, I still remember buying VHS tapes at Walmart though.
So, well, hey,
they're not that
Walmart.
old.
I think that's fair. Like you could create a baseball-esque game. We talked about this about competition in games. You could do something like that. Maybe it's not just Field of Dreams, but every mythological or film type baseball team. You could get The Natural in there, which is another 80s movie.
Rookie of the Year, Angels in the outfield.
Henry Rowengartner.
Sandlot.
Okay, I've got a wild hair. I'm going to throw it out there for your consideration. Now, I know the reviews and feelings about New Mutants have been mixed. Okay, I get it. Okay, but hear me out. Breakfast Club as survival horror. You're set in high school. You all got your personalities, like a multiplayer thing.
Yeah.
But it's all survival horror, but Breakfast Club.
Okay.
Soundtrack sells itself, but you're trying to survive. It's on the
Imagine
ledge to
that.
it.
You mess with the bull, you get the horns.
Yes,
God,
It could also be a good like Persona 5 style game.
absolutely.
Oh, that would be cool.
But I love that idea. The Breakfast Club. It's a great movie.
Are there any like school horror games? Because I feel like that would be like the creepiest place for a horror game. Just like turning corners in every hallway.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I think, has been a game before.
Isn't there another one with like there's like a little girl? Is it Fear or something like that? I don't know if that's in a school though. I thought I've seen that it was, but
I know what you're talking about. It's bringing back a memory right now, but it must have been obscure enough that none of us remember it. No, but there you have it. That's a great question from Randall, one of our audience. Obviously, if you have any questions you'd like to ask us or the geeks or the sports people, feel free to comment below. But we love our audience. I want to make sure we included that in the show at some point because without you, we have no show. Now, quickly transitioning here to sports again. One of the big topics we had last year at PAX 19 when we were in Seattle was getting a hockey team. And at the time, nobody knew what the name was. I think the front runner name was Kraken, but we had a lot of great suggestions. So we do know now that the name of the team is going to be the Seattle Kraken. They had a beautiful and brilliant marketing campaign to open this up to the world. Wonderful logo, wonderful jerseys. I've heard really way more positive feedback on this name and logo than I think I ever have in a new team name, right? So what we want to ask you is, obviously, quickly, what do you think about the Kraken name and logo? Do you like where they're going with that? And do they have a shot to do kind of what a Vegas Golden Knights team did and be competitive right away? Finn, I'm going to jump right to you because you're
I love it. Absolutely love it. I love the name. I love the jersey. I think the jerseys might be one of the best in the league, to be quite honest. I love the colors, and the logo is great. I know some people were like, it looks too bland or what. I don't know how. I think it's a great jersey, and the logo's great. It's got the little eye, right?
Right.
But no, I really love it, and I definitely want to buy a jersey for myself.
Funny things about haters with most of these things. They'll tell you they hate it, but they can't give you a reason why they hate it. They just hate it to hate it. So
I do think they will be a playoff team.
I also love it, and I think it gives them room if they do like a wacky third jersey or down the road alt thing with the tentacles or whatever. Like you have to have something to start with, like a base, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, all you are is the wacky gimmick 3D hologram lenticular jersey. Love it. Also love their brand. Also, you know what? I'm gonna get in early. I believe in Ron Francis. I believe that he's come there to win hockey games. He's not there for the logo. He ain't there for that. He's there for deliver some wins.
I mean,
and
that's how
I
good
think it's a great
Vegas
foundation.
did.
Yeah,
I had the opportunity to interview.
It's going to come down to the expansion draft. You got to remember, Vegas got a Stanley Cup winning goalie in Marc-Andre Fleury because Pittsburgh was trying to get under the cap. I don't know how many goalies are going to be available. at that maybe Henrik Lundqvist in the expansion draft.
He will be available in the expansion draft.
I mean,
if he
how
does
many
not sign
teams
with any
have
team.
2 great goalies? You're going to be
Right.
losing one of them unless they're too young to be in the draft.
I think it would be great if that happened with Vancouver, who is obviously going to be a major rival of the Seattle Kraken. Asif, I want to get your thoughts on
wow.
this.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have thoughts on this.
Okay.
I'm up in Northeast Ohio. It snows, I don't know, half the year here. We got ice. I'll bust my ass on our parking lot outside the office all the time. Why don't we have an NHL team in Cleveland? Why is it like Tampa Bay has one? Vegas has
Florida
one.
has
Well,
two.
even Columbus. You have Columbus. So
Who
why does
cares
Columbus-
about it? They named them the BJs. Good for you guys. Like I do not live in Columbus. I could give a rat's ass about a Columbus sports team. Like it was if everyone in Cleveland's like, you gotta root for the Blue Jackets. No, I grew up here and there was no Blue Jackets, right? And we had an IHL team in Cleveland. So I rooted for the Penguins
Yeah.
and I rooted for the Red Wings.
Yeah.
Talk about like the 2 best hockey teams ever, right? So
It's
I was going to say, maybe not so
Fine.
much anymore.
In that time period,
during
when
the
I-
era you grew up in. Yeah.
In
That's
the
fair.
era that I grew up here, they were 2 excellent teams.
Yes.
That one year where they faced off in the Stanley Cup final was like heaven for me. I was pissed when Fleury got taken to the Vegas Knights because I liked. He's one of the best players in the league at the time.
Yeah, Matt Murray's
Yeah,
been
still is,
phenomenal.
yeah.
Here's a funny thing, guys. There is a very real chance that Fleury might be left up in the expansion draft again and go to
Yeah.
Seattle, which would be amazing if that did happen.
Yeah,
Ray,
Go
I
to
do-
another Stanley Cup.
I do want to get Ray's thoughts on this because we've been discussing this for over a year. We had a really great brought to us by a friend of ours named Travis, but another great name we had was the Seattle Grind. We thought that would have been a cool name, but I think Kraken's done its job. But Ray, what are your thoughts on the name?
Yeah, no, I mean the Kraken was the obvious front runner. I think you got to keep with the oceanic theme that Seattle has had for a long time. Obviously, the Mariners and the Seahawks. Something that kind of resonates with the city. Obviously, the Supersonics, were about the Space Needle and all that other stuff, but unfortunately, they were stolen from them by some terrible people who are now in Oklahoma. And it just, I think it's great for the city. Seattle is a great. Honestly, we're not just saying that because PAX is there every year. Seattle is a great town. It's a great sports town. And I think that, look at this. Honestly, it's great they have something else to root for because they can't be worse than the Mariners, probably to start off with. So.
No, and you're right. Seattle deserves sports teams. I'm more throwing shade at every sunny place in the United States that has a hockey team. But what I love about the Kraken, their fans are already calling their arena the Crack House, and they're calling themselves the Crackheads.
Yep.
And that's just solid right there.
That's
That marketing
it's
writes
great.
itself.
Brilliant
It's the
marketing.
Seahawks 12th man is just now moving over to hockey. It is a passionate fan base, and they've deserved this for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be really interesting as we head into PAX 21 next year, seeing where the Kraken is. It's going to be another topic, the reoccurring topic here on our Geeks Who Like Sports things. But obviously, let us know what you think about the name Seattle Kraken. Comment below. Let us know if you think it's a good name or a bad name. And if you think it's a bad name, please.
Just
let
keep
us
it to
know why.
yourself.
Yeah, give us a reason.
Give it a
Yeah,
legit
it's an
reason.
awesome Logan. It's an awesome
Can
logo.
I ask a question just to be super clear?
Sure.
More than one Kraken. Are they Krakens or are they Kraken? I just want to know.
I think it's a crack eye.
Crack eye.
I thought it was just.
I'm
I thought it was
kidding.
I thought it was just Kraken. Like Kraken is singular and plural.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
a
like deer.
flock of Kraken or something. There's
Right.
Flock of Kraken.
A
I know,
murder
that's
of
a question.
Kraken.
I'm asking a little legitimate question. Is this not? This is the
I,
place. For
I
this,
just
right?
want
Like deer?
it's a fair question. I think multiple Kraken are also just Kraken, and I want everyone here to be ready to hear release the Kraken too much over the next year.
Yep. No, according to Merriam-Webster, it can be Krakens or Kraken for plural.
Wow.
Oh.
Bringing out the real dictionary there.
I
went
For our
to the
younger
Google.
listeners, that's a thing we used to look in to find out definitions.
I did research live.
Yeah.
Wow. By the
You
way,
are
they're
a
gonna
geek, sir, and that's okay.
They're going to be really vulnerable because the headlines with the crack our lacking are going to be flying off the shelves. If they don't get winning.
Seriously.
It's going to be happening.
Make those shirts
Cracks
right now.
in the ice, like the
Yes.
puns.
Cracks.
There's so
Yeah, the
many
pun-
puns
yeah,
to be
the
had.
both for the good and the bad. The puns are just the sports writers in Seattle are like, yeah,
yeah,
we're
they
ready
are
to go.
set.
I
They're
wish
set
I
for
could have
like
been in the
3
marketing
years.
room when
The
they were
crack
deciding this.
are
But people will call it the
lacking.
crack
You gotta
house.
make those. You
Yes,
gotta
they
make
will.
those
The
before
crack
they
are
steal it.
lacking.
It's already too late for that.
You're ready for the sign. You're ready for the sign. For Philadelphia, exactly.
Well, I'll be seeing the Kraken this year. So another team that I'm not going to see this year, unfortunately, is going to be my football team, the Philadelphia Eagles. And as is tradition here on Geeks Who Like Sports when we're at PAX, it is about the time football season is going to get going. So we would like to hear everyone's predictions this year on the football season. And as a bonus, an added bonus, in addition to our good friend Mel Kirk making the worst prediction last year, saying that the 49ers would not win more than 4 games. Boy, that flip-flopped on him. You get to come back on the show and hopefully talk about why your team is doing really well and why the team that you selected to be bad is doing great. He was very happy when we had him back on the show. Luckily, we didn't have him on after the Super Bowl. But let's start with it. We want to hear your football prediction for this year for your team. I'm going to jump right over to Asif because I know you've been waiting for this one. Tell me about your Browns, man. Where are they going to be this year?
They're going to win the Super Bowl. They're not going to win their division. They're going to be a wild card. They're going to slide. It'll be like a 10-6. The last game of the season they get in.
They'll be the 7th seed.
Yeah, and then they're going to go on a run, and they're going to beat the Detroit Lions 5-2 in the lowest rated Super Bowl of all time.
Man, Asif loves our show so much. Asif really wants to be back on Geeks Who Like Sports. I appreciate that, but
it'll be the lowest rated Super Bowl ever, and it'll be a field goal and 2 safeties.
So it's like a national college.
Well, it can't be any worse than the one we had 2 years ago.
Yeah,
oh, my
real.
gosh.
That's fair.
But yeah, is there going to be a halftime show this year, you think?
Yeah, it's going to be like Blades of Steel.
I don't know. The VMAs happened. Apparently, MTV can execute things. Yeah, sure.
There's no coronavirus on MTV. Finn, tell me about your Eagles, man. That's my team, too. I want to know what you think they're going to do this year. That's the sound of Philadelphia live on the air.
Just audible groan.
Just
I'll be happy for 9-7 again, I think. It's like every Philadelphia team looks so damn good on paper, but it doesn't show it in the standings.
What, you don't trust the process?
No, I don't.
Well, here's what I'll say. I'm going to jump on your prediction as well, just because it's my team as well. I think obviously it's always about health for Philadelphia.
I'll say 10-6 at best.
Yeah, it's can Carson Wentz stay healthy? Look, this is. I don't want to say it's an easy year for them to win the division. There's a lot of wild cards within our division this year, with the Giants getting a new head coach, the Cowboys getting a new head coach, the Washington football team has a new identity that they're going to really need to kind of come into.
Coach.
And a new coach.
Ron Rivera, yeah.
So it's going to be NFC East is going to be a very interesting division this year. Philadelphia, in my opinion, it is their division to lose, and then it's going to be a very interesting postseason. But look, if they're going to come back to another Super Bowl, I think this would actually be the year because of the way things are going. And I really think Doug Peterson's a coach who knows how to get the best out of his team in weird underdog circumstances. So I'm going to pick them to actually potentially go all the way this year. And with that said, I'm going to jump to Ray, then to Gordon, because
I do want to say one thing.
Oh, go ahead.
And shame on me for saying this. And I'm biting my tongue here, but I actually think Dallas might be good.
Oh man. Well,
I know. I don't know. I mean, I hope I am proven wrong with that.
Well, listen, with their new coach,
I just have this feeling that they might actually be tough. And I don't mean like striving to be the worst, but still win the division like last year.
Did Dak get a contract or no? Is he playing?
Not yet. He's franchise tagged.
So he's playing for money. He's motivated.
Yeah,
and he's in a cool Frito-Lay ad. But here's the other thing about Dallas is that they have the talent. They haven't had the leadership, in my opinion. And that leadership now is with the New York Giants. Ray, tell us a little bit about how the Giants are going to do this year.
No.
Worst case scenario 4-12. Best case scenario 7-9.
5-11.
I'm quiet, Finn. I'm getting to that. I am going to put a nail in the head and say I think they will go 5-11 this year.
Ray, you can't turn into this man right now.
I will not. It's not going to be a Ray rant. We're not going to Ray rant yet. The season hasn't started. For those of you who watch the how the Ray rants go.
Is he like the EDP of the Giants? Do you guys know who that is?
Where does he get mad a lot? Get angry? And
you don't know who EDP is? The big he's a really big Eagles fan. Like he's like the most well-known.
I don't care at all about Eagles fans.
Yeah.
So like you're talking to the wrong guy.
This episode took a turn.
Yeah. The Giants, Jason Garrett's our offensive coordinator now. I think that Danny Dimes is going to be Danny Dumpster Fire. I think that we are going to I think he is not going to have a good sophomore campaign. I think the offensive line is still in shambles. I think we need more good drafts to try and get the team put into a position where it could win. We have no linebackers. We have no secondary. I think we're literally having auditions in the parking lot of the Meadowlands to try and get players on the team because our team it just looks like a bunch of scrubs.
Hey,
I genuinely.
The Eagles did do that once.
I know you did. I know, and I think he won you like one game.
Vince Papale, man.
Yeah, exactly. But I honestly
against the Giants.
I think Stuart Scott tried out too.
It's true.
Oh, the Jets. Remember that's how he got.
Oh, it was the Jets.
Remember
that's
the
right.
ball hit him in the eye. That's how he got blinded. He got blinded by
Fidel
the ball.
Castro tried out for the Yankees.
Didn't make it
wow.
No.
Ray,
turned to a career in government. That worked out well.
though. By the way, just a little bonus for everybody. If Ray wins this contest of the worst prediction, you all get to come back on the show. Speaking of that, Gordon, why don't you tell me about your team? Where are they going to be?
I got so many feelings. So, all right, meta feeling. I think everyone's ignoring that the rosters are too small. We're in a pandemic, and they need to have baseball rosters of like 70 players or 75 players.
Yeah, it's twice as large as normal. Yeah.
My beloved Dallas Cowboys, 10-6. It's what's gonna happen. But what I think is interesting is this: Buccaneers, 4-12.
Ooh, wow.
They are a fantasy football team. It is made for like marketing, like a boy band. There's just no way it comes together in time to deliver in these times. Also, I bet before the pandemic shortened season, because you think there's going to be a Super Bowl, don't you? Cam Newton is on his way to an MVP. He fits right in, and with his great coaching and this great system,
I think I could be good for the Patriots.
I know, but exactly. So imagine how good Cam Newton would be, right?
I believe.
Right.
I believe
me and Finn are going to be who Cam Newton is throwing to this season. We're actually going to be his new receiver.
But I think we're dealing with the first ever Super Bowl postponement.
Really? Well, this is what I was going to say first off. I do believe we are about to see that Belichick is the greatest coach in the NFL for real, and it's not just been Brady. That's not a shot at Brady, who is a very good quarterback, but I believe that his coaching
He won't be that good this year.
Yeah, I believe his coaching trumps Brady's skill.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I mean that with all respect. And
So
Gordon,
wait, how many Brady wins? I said 4. So that's the over-under. What do you think? How many Brady wins this season?
Oh, that's a tough
If
one.
it's a full season. Just make it up. This is
6. I'm going to say 6. I'm going to say 6. I'm going to say the Bucs are 6-10.
I'm going to go 8 because I think they have a little
bad.
more.
I think they're going to win 10 games.
Yeah, I think they have an identity that they can grasp onto, and I think they're going to come out of the gate really hot and trail off towards the end of the season.
I honestly want to see Winston do well, though. The guy didn't he throw 5,000 yards? Imagine if he could throw the ball accurately.
He got LASIK in the offseason.
He had what?
Jameis Winston got LASIK surgery on his eyes.
Where is he?
He's in New Orleans now.
New Orleans.
He's backing up. He's backing up Drew Brees.
Heartbeat away.
Basically, that whole division rotated quarterbacks. Where Teddy Bridgewater is now in Carolina. Okay. Cam Newton went with New England in the mix. So Cam Newton goes to New England. Brady goes to Tampa Bay. Winston goes to the Saints. So it was a weird.
Still in Atlanta.
And Matty Ice is still there, except for my Madden franchise where I traded for him. I traded for him, and he led me to a Super Bowl because I got rid of Danny Dumpster Fire as quick as possible.
And now for the shortest of moments, Matt Ryan will have a small place in Ray's heart. So obviously NFL is going to get going here quickly. Hopefully, as Gordon said, we do have a Super Bowl, I should say.
When is the first game? Isn't it Labor Day? When's the first game of the season?
It's next week.
September 3rd. So technically, the first games are happening as our PAX episode is airing.
That's true.
Awesome. Hello. That's
well,
awesome.
hopefully.
So catch me up. There's no preseason at all.
No preseason at all, and the originally Labor Day weekend was originally the start of the season. They pushed it back a week because of COVID.
So no one but me sees this as a pattern, right?
Oh yeah.
We all see it.
No, Gordon, I'm with you, man. I think you got to be out of your mind to be like bullish of the United States right now going into this winter.
Listen, this is what we've said. This is how I described it to Ray, because baseball has just screwed up so much this season. I said on the air, Ray agreed with this. I said Roger Goodell is sitting somewhere right now like, well, we won't make the same mistakes that baseball made. We're the NFL. That's how I imagine he talks at his home.
In his basement where he did the draft from.
Yeah. And if COVID gets in one of these locker rooms, your O-line is a wrap. Those guys are not.
That's why Nate Solder opted out for the Giants. He's like, I'm not even going to risk it this year. Also, he's a cancer survivor, which is good for him. And so
I think
his immune system is compromised.
Yeah,
these guys run into each other and breathe on each other for a living. Like,
Yeah.
unlike any other sport where there's contact. I get it. The other sports are very physical sports and have moments of contact. They literally reside they're in a huddle, for God's sakes. But that's before they get at it, right? Like, so if anybody.
When someone. It's
right?
again, this is what we did with baseball.
You talk about how they have meetings while they're practicing or whatever. You got quarterback rooms that you're going to have to sequester a quarterback from the other two. Like, it's just it's such a mess.
Yeah.
I feel like it's inevitable that someone's going to go to a strip club while they're in Tampa, and then they come back to the locker room and expose 20 people on their team or something. Like, that's seems like
you want a Tampa Bay prediction? Gronk is going to get COVID.
Yeah,
that's my prediction for Tampa Bay.
I don't wish that
on anybody. By the way, I'm not wishing that, but that's
exactly.
But the idiot he is.
If anybody's going to be out there partying it up, it's going to be Gronk.
Which brings us to a new question now. Do you think there's going to be a full NFL season?
I think not only that, I think forget the millions of dollars that they get paid to stay apart, right? They at least most of them have housing, hotel accommodations. Unfortunately, your college kids who don't, right, who live in dorms, who don't have all those resources to create space and are 19, they're nothing years old, right? All they want to do is gather because their lives are happening for the very first time. Right? They ain't going off to a mansion. They ain't going off in a Lamborghini. They ain't going to the personal trainer, right? They're part of a group for a living, right? In their college time, right? Like, unfortunately, that isn't designed for this time.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. And again, I think everybody's on here with this. If we have to learn from baseball's mistake, not make the same mistake over and over again. So we'll see what the NFL does as they lead into the 2021
part of my Super Bowl
season.
prediction was that I think the Browns and Lions are going to be the only two teams left standing.
All right, we're back here at week 15. Only 2 teams are playing. I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore. But if you want to see a real Super Bowl this year, make sure you tune in to Ray's Twitch channel where he does the Super Bowl live.
The Browns are going to the Super Bowl!
Against the only team left in the NFC.
And who said Matthew Stafford would never take the Lions to a Super Bowl, even if it's by default?
It will be interesting to see, like, the celebrations, actually. So going back to NBA, right, that's a little further along, or NHL, right, because we just sort of have an aesthetic that we're just sort of used to. Like, will there be confetti from the rafters? Like, is it that kind of thing, or is there a new time? You know what I'm saying?
A more subdued celebration.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can tell you this. I can tell you this. The NHL has done by far the best with all of the sports coming back. Their presentation is phenomenal. The organization is phenomenal. They're even joking.
They're making light of it. Yep.
Yeah, and in fact, the big question now we all have is there's a big rumor that there's going to be crowd noise booing Gary Bettman when he comes out to give out the Stanley Cup.
Oh, please.
I hope he trolls himself because that would be in the nature of everything we're doing. This is actually a really great transition point. One of the people on the panel here, Ray, who's also the host of the show, has had a lot of success in these games right now by doing live play-by-play with a crowd, with his teams in the game. So in our show every week, we have something called a mashup, where we try and mash together sports and geekdom into one singular topic. And before we jump into the mashup today, we want everybody watching the show to take a look at somebody we call Play-by-Play Ray. Take a look at what Ray does here on Twitch when he's playing with the Digital Yankees.
First and second now, and that brings up Torres, who's had a good series until tonight. Checks his swing on the outside cutter, 1-0. Aaron Judge pulls it down the third baseline and hit off the bag. Oh, the magic of Yankee Stadium. And now Torres, it's hit to deep left center field. This one is gone! The Yankees win! The Yankees win! It's a walk-off! A 3-run bomb in the bottom of the 14th! The Yankees win! In stunning fashion, they come back twice! They tie it in the 9th! They walk it off in the 14th! The Yankees win!
Ray, you may have a problem or you may be a genius. Either way, I love watching you do this nightly on your Twitch stream. I love watching you play. And you know what? Here's the thing, everybody. Ray has grown a massive audience doing this in a short amount of time, right, Ray? Especially on TikTok.
Well, yeah, it's big for the amount of time that I've been doing it. It's gotten pretty big pretty quickly. We got 9,000 followers on TikTok. We got 1,000 on Twitch. I love all of yous. Again, twitch.tv/Ray Carcillo, or just search Ray Carcillo on TikTok. But yeah, like it's amazing. And I think, to your guys' point, for a lot of folks who escape it, it's been great because a lot of the folks who come in are happy just to talk baseball with other people, because another thing we haven't talked about with the pandemic, and especially about a lot of these kids who are having to school from home and all this other stuff, has been they're finding a community where they're like, oh man, look at all these other people who like talking about baseball. And so a lot of times we're not even talking about the game. We're just all talking baseball and football with each other, because these kids, unfortunately, or even and adults too, don't have the social outlets that they had before the pandemic. And I guess I provided that a little bit.
You are. Yeah, there's no water cooler.
Right. Exactly.
You're filling the gap, which is great. So here's what we're doing for the mashup. We wanted to give every one of the panelists an opportunity to ask Ray to do play-by-play for an existing sports highlight. You can choose anything you want. Asif, Cleveland does have some good ones that you get to pick from here. That's a good thing. And everything inside me, Ray, is making me want to pick Philadelphia sports, but I'm not going to do it because I care about you, Ray. But we're going to go right to the panel now. So, Gordon, why don't you start off? What is the sporting moment you want Ray to do? And again, we're going to actually do this. We're going to tee off Ray. He's actually going to do play-by-play for these plays.
So it's a real moment in real life, not a game moment in game life. Ooh.
So I can't do, like, if I accidentally quick sold a card?
Oh, okay. I don't know.
It's been done.
I know what I want. It's clear to me. It's going to be WNBA Finals. That is a league we love and does not have like a call, like, the call, like the Miracle on Ice. That call has not existed yet. And I think Ray could deliver the passion. Ray could connect people with the talent in a moment.
Okay. All right. We'll look up a clip from last year's finals.
What's going to happen? Ray, you will do that.
I will do that. Yeah. Yes. All right.
All right, Finn, let's go to you. You play a lot of digi sports, but you also have a lot of sports that you love, like Philadelphia sports, which somebody else on this show absolutely does. What would you pick for Ray? If you had to pick one play in history for play-by-play Ray to redo, what would it be?
All right, so I actually just thought of this one, and I think this is one Ray will like. I want you to do when Luis Castillo dropped the ball, that pop out. Or should have been a pop out.
That's a deep cut, buddy. That's one I completely forgot about because I tried to forget about A-Rod too. Just completely blocked them from my mind.
You won the game.
Yeah, it was against the Mets though. They're a dumpster fire. We should win every game against the Mets.
Okay, so passing the ball over to Asif. Asif, what moment do you have? And I promise you, he's going to make it better than whatever the announcers did on national television.
Oh, okay, that's gonna be tough because I'm going to give you two Cleveland sports moments. One's typical Cleveland sports, and the other one is like the greatest thing to ever happen to us. And then I'll let you choose. The block.
Right.
In 2016, LeBron James chased down block of Andre Iguodala. It's like the best thing to ever happen to Cleveland fans ever.
Yeah, that says a lot. But yes,
it's an amazing play. Like if you go back and watch him, he is so far behind everyone, and he hits this next level. This turbo mode. And, in 2016, LeBron James was a man possessed, especially after Draymond hit him in the nuts. But, yeah, you don't hit LeBron James in the nuts and then call him names. That's all I got to tell you. But anyway, that play.
Put that on a T-shirt.
That play, and you control me, or you control Cleveland fans, that last, that image of J.R. Smith forgetting the score. In the 2018 NBA Finals, where LeBron's like,
LeBron just besides himself.
Yeah.
Oh, I already know which one he's doing.
The series, I might do both of them just for fun. But I mean, that was like,
it's the yin and yang.
The series was over right at that moment because it's just.
I want to see that one.
Yeah, I honestly think you could probably do a really good job with that second one because Mike Breen did an amazing job with the block. It's like blocked by LeBron James and all that great stuff. But there's that, it's like a minute and a half, the free throw all the way to that timeout where LeBron is just dead inside. I think you could do an amazing job.
Oh, the amount of memes that have come out of that too. So Ray, I thought a lot about this as I typically do. And the first thing that popped into my head was the Miracle at the Meadowlands too, because it took place when you and I were both down in Florida the day after my wedding. And it was a wonderful moment for the Eagles, but it was not a wonderful moment for you. But I did have to get my digs in because this is payback for some things you've said to me off the phone, which I told you I'd get you back for live on the air at PAX. I'm just kidding. Wade's my best friend. I was happy he was there. So I thought, how can I make it up for him? Because I just stabbed him in the heart a little bit. Right? I want you to call.
I hate Deshaun Jackson.
I want you to call the 1994 Stanley Cup champion New York Rangers. A call that is actually very, very well done by Sam Rosen.
Yeah, it's an iconic call.
It is. And so I wanted to give you something challenging, but something I also know you can do to showcase how good you are at this. So I want you to call the Rangers beating the Vancouver Canucks in the 1994 Stanley Cup playoffs and final when Messier is doing that little jump thing that he does.
Yeah.
You know, I think you'd enjoy that, and I think you'd be really good at it.
Awesome. So I appreciate your guys' suggestions, and we will remake these for our social medias. So, guys, I just want to say thank you again so much for being here. That's going to wrap up our PAX Online 2020 episode of Geeks Who Like Sports. Asif, Finn, Gordon, it has been an absolute pleasure, guys. Thank you so much. This has been an amazing episode. I wish we had more time, but unfortunately we don't. You all have to come back. Open invite. Whenever you guys want to come back on, just let us know. But yeah, again, thank you so much, folks. And out there, you can find us, of course, at geekswholikesports.com, Geeks Who Like SP1 on Twitter and Instagram. Search Geeks Who Like Sports on Facebook. And, of course, Geeks Who Like Sports wherever you hear your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google. We're on all of them. So thank you again for watching. We really appreciate it. And we hope to see you next time with more Geeks Who Like Sports. Take care, everybody. Thanks again.